Africa. Let's talk about that pop culture phenomenon. Tell me about how it came together.
We had most of the Toto-4 album done. And I got a new instrument called a GS1 from Yamaha. And it had these little kind of kalimba, Balinesian, gamelan kind of sounds in it. And we had a CS80 in my living room. My house had keyboards everywhere, and you could plug them in and record also.
We're using the synthesizer called a GS1. It was this Yamaha, it was a $16,000 digital instrument that you couldn't program. They only had 2 or 3 of these programmers for it. 4-screen. It was a very early application of FM synthesizers, which is what the DX7 wound up being. But this GS1 was in this other model of it, and it had amazing sounds and had this amazing characteristic. But this guy named Gary Leuenberger was his name, very dear friend of ours who was helping us programming stuff. He came in, and especially for Africa, we spent hours on tweaking those kalimba sounds. You know what I mean? Getting that sound just right.
I hear the drums echoing tonight.
He helped us out doing a custom program. That's how in with Yamaha I was in those days too, that I was able to do that. No one, they didn't do custom programming for anybody. I just was that in with all those guys, and we really squeaked that out, and that was for Africa.
And I started playing this riff, and I started getting into this song and wrote this little chord structure and had a chorus. I had the chorus to it. And once I got my title, which was Africa, I realized, well, if I'm going to do this and it's going to be anything worth it, we can't just cut it regular. So I asked Jeff to compose a special loop that was integral to the part of it. It just wasn't an afterthought to make him part of the song, And I said, I want you to start the song with the loop.
Yeah.
And we'll add all this stuff to it one at a time. Almost like the Beatles were doing, and like Brian Wilson, who you talked about there, did, which is putting instruments on one at a time.
Yeah.
It was very experimental, very fun for us. You have some of this older school technology, Steve was saying before, about this collaborative effort where everybody's in the room and you're printing the echo, and we're kind of the last of the bands that saw the old school of making records on tape and utilizing how tape is, and echo and all that stuff.
Well, also, when we did Africa, we were doing like tape loops, actual tape loops on microphone stands. Al Schmidt,
Beatles style,
legendary engineer, was working with us. And, we were doing like Lenny Castro, who's out with us now.
Yeah.
And Jeff would come up and find 8 bars of a loop, and then we'd start overdubbing to that. And it was really old school. Analog. You know what I mean?
Where you got tape.
How do we do this?
You guys have seen tape loops, real tape loops, right? Where you get just a pole and a pull. Tape is spinning around the room here.
And then if you want it longer, you have to move the microphone stand a little bit more.
We're not
like
syncing up two machines. We're made of one of the
if we wanted
Africa.
Instead of sampling things, we used to fly it in like wild. So you'd have to do it manually. Like, the background vocals would be like this ooze or something like that. You didn't want to do again. You put it on the 2-track and you'd have to go one, bam, and anticipate it and hope that it catches up in time. That's how they did. And we did that because we heard George Martin did that with Sgt. Pepper's. They would sync it in and then edit the pieces together.
Otherwise, you had to do what we did on the first couple albums, which was just sing every single chorus and triple every single chorus and do all that. And it's very time consuming. That's where budgets went, and that's what took so long with making real productive albums. That waiting for me. As I sit here and look at this table, though, and you like to go back and talk about the history and where things come from, I pay homage. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. I know people say that as a cliche, but we really are.
No, it all started with the Beatles for me, and then they're always in the room with whatever we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. They made the initial loop, and once I put on the little keyboard, the CS80 with the horn sound and a guide vocal, he started hearing parts. And he picked up a guitar and started doing amazing things. Hungate did. And it just came, it was so organic and collaborative. That's a perfect example of Toto,
we basically made the essence of the record in one day. And then the more keyboards, and then more guitars, and then we spent a lot of time doing the rest of it.
And what was great about that is because most of the rest of the record was done, and I think all we were working on was this song. It's like, so someone would get an idea, let's get Tim Schmidt from the Eagles to come in and sing this part. Or let's get Joe Porcaro on flapamba or bass marimba to play this part. Then we start calling in and getting the exotic percussion.
Emil Richards and all his stuff,
One by one, guys start picking up their instruments. What's so great about Toto is their ability to self-arrange and self-produce these things, you know what I mean? No one tells him what part to play on that, or David Hungate what bass part to play, and it just kind of evolved while we were mixing our record, you know?
Yeah.
And it was one of those magical things, you know, you can't say, hey, well, we masterminded this to be a big single and saw the future.
No, I didn't hear it, man. I was going like,
none of us did really. You know?
Else didn't even make the record, right?
No, because it's such a mid-tempo, it's kind of an easygoing thing. We had all these other, you know, the Rosannas and these, you know, big rockers on there. We thought, well, here's another little
It
extra.
was truly
track,
a wild card song.
Yeah, you know.
And then it ends up being the biggest song we've ever had. So what do we know? You know?
Certainly.
I was never one to pick the singles, you know.
You know, Africa I remember very well because I remember, and I didn't even know this about Luke. Luke has come out about this too. I just remember the whole time with Africa thinking, this does not belong on this album. This should not be on this record. It was kind of the last thing we'd working on. We'd already been working on all, you know, the whole thing. And my tune, we'd gone through all this stuff, all this stuff, and Africa was kind of this thing of David's. And I could tell David was way into it and really wanted to do it. And Jeff worked really hard on it. You know what I mean? Having said that, just because I didn't like the tune and because I didn't think it should be on the album doesn't mean I didn't kill myself on it. You know what I'm saying? We would really, like I said, again, just to finish up what I was saying about the guys, as hard as they could be on you working on their stuff, when it was my stuff, they all brought their A games. And I never felt for a moment that Lukather was just trying to get through my tune so he could get to work on one of his tunes. Everybody always brought it.
Gave it everything.
Everyone always brought it.
You can tell that with all you guys' songs. I mean, they're so
what David would bring to my
meticulous.
songs.
Yeah.
What David would bring to my songs, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and I loved it because I brought a lot to, you know what I mean? I'd work hard on his tunes too.
Yeah.
So
You also are watching a documentary, right? As far as the lyrics go.
No, not so much. I was
Africa?
reading a lot of National Geographic at the time, is what I was doing. I got a lot of stuff from poetically paraphrasing some of the things, and I had you know read some books and stuff, and was kind of romanticizing about going to Africa, which I'd never been.
Classic rock has sort of taken, it's crossed generations now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know.
No question.
You know, my younger kids know, my older kids do.
They all find it on their own.
You get the songs in video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The cross-pollinization of stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff. It's on a cartoon show or something. Laugh.
That's the other thing. A whole bunch of people, their first introduction into us is either Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake.
We could sing that song that we heard on the radio today.
Oh, you mean Africa by Toto? I love that song, but let's try to keep it down.
I bless the rains down in Africa. Gonna take some time to do the things we never have. Woo.
Or Family Guy, you know what I mean?
I love the show.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Seth MacFarlane fan, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then when he did Africa, I didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
I was just watching the show. I go, Paige! I called him on, put on TV!
That's
We love it.
we love it. You know what I mean?
know.
Luke watches all those shows in South Park.
Remember this song? Right, baby? I love this song. It was fantastic, baby. Right,
I remember I was watching this show. I didn't start watching it until it was in syndication. It was called Scrubs.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I thought it was
Scrubs, yeah.
hysterical. And one episode, you know what I mean? One episode, they open on his iPod. He's in the bathtub, and they open on his iPod, and it says Toto-Africa on it.
Only one thing could make it better. Cranking up the Toto.
I bless the rains down in Africa.
You know what I mean? I'm going,
Oh, yeah.
oh boy, what are we going to be the punchline for now? But it was he loved it. We loved
That
it.
Jimmy
How do you
Fallon
not
skit,
laugh
that's
at that?
classic,
That was classic.
man.
I mean, I thought
Justin
when I
Timberlake.
got the sync request, I thought that what usually happens is, it's a walk on and they play 5 seconds of it. Dum,
Yeah.
dum, 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 dum. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Timberlake and everything. And they kept coming back to it, and these guys have braces on, and they're
it's
like
hilarious.
Take the Lord to take me away
was hysterical.
They're sitting there singing it to each
Oh, we
other.
cracked up.
It's classic.
No,
Well, if you
no
cut
one-
back to NSYNC, but back when they were together, like
Yeah.
they were in Africa and they were all singing the song.
Yeah.
That song is like,
No one laughs about our stuff at our stuff more than we do.
oh,
you know
we,
what I mean?
are you kidding me?
You guys probably
Peter
seen that
Griffin
thing
on the
on
Rubin
YouTube
list.
where
Yeah.
that huge choir is singing Africa.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we played with them. Jazz, Perpetuum Jazz.
Yeah, they came on stage and
They
did it
came
with
on
us.
stage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then Andy McKee.
Yeah,
That's a
really
freaking
talented guy.
amazing.
Well, that got me in touch with Andy McKee, which
Yeah.
I brought him in,
Yeah.
and then Lee Ritenour did this album called Six String Theory, and he came in. He was part of the band, one of the tracks, and
Yeah.
he's a brilliant
Super
guitar player.
talent.
I heard that Africa was a drinking game in college or something like that. A certain lyric, and you had to pound a shot or something.
It was a drinking game when I wrote it. It was a drinking game when I wrote it.
Yeah, no, definitely. We were definitely a little tight. Could have been slightly altered at the time of the recording. you know?
And then the Weezer version hit #1, introduced to yet another generation. What'd you think of that?
Really good.
There was a version of two guys, two weekend warriors at a pizza place.
Yes, I know those guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Guitar and bass, and it was like one of the coolest versions.
Yeah, they
we'd ever
did a
heard
great
of it.
job.
You know what I
with it.
mean?
Their vocal was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that guy
Salt
showed up at
Lake.
one of
We
our
just
gigs.
met that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just
Yeah,
saw
in
it.
Utah, man.
We just
And that's
saw
one
it.
of the
He came to the
most
show.
watched. Yeah, YouTube.
He was
videos.
really good.
Yeah, he was really sweet too.
A lot of kids found our music. Like we're
Yeah.
this multi-generational, fan base at this point. We
Yeah.
look out the
Yeah.
audience. It's not just people our age. It's a lot of young people.